So worship is your response to God. It is something that you cannot initiate on your own, but something that God himself initiates in your life. And so worship is always initiated by God. Worship is always initiated by God because it is absolutely impossible for you to initiate worship. You cannot initiate worship because worship is something that God has to bring you into. It's something that you have to be brought into. And I use a strong statement like worship is intercourse because when you consider the dynamics of worship and how it works, it's something that you have to, you can't just step into. You gotta do some stuff to build up to the intimate moment, right? Right? And so when you consider this, so many times, too many people want to jump right into worship or think you can just jump right into worship without understanding that worship is always initiated by God. Worship always has intention or intentionality. Worship always has intention or intentionality. In other words, you never can worship God if you didn't mean to. You will never be able to worship God by accident. By the way, it was an accident. Something happened. Like worship has intent. And anytime you are getting ready to prepare to worship, some of you came to worship this morning with an attitude or an intentionality to worship. It did not start today. It started last night. It started yesterday as you start praying and changing your music and figuring out what you was going to wear. And unfortunately, people spend more time thinking about what they're going to put on for worship than what they're going to do in worship. And the truth is that when you think about worship, this is why when you come in the atmosphere of worship and we sing, so few people are able to tap into it because it's not something you can just step in. You have to have your mind determined that this was what you were going to participate in, and it takes preparation. Worship is always intentional. Worship also requires integrity. This is another challenge or block or barrier of worship. Worship requires integrity. And when your heart is not integral, it's difficult to worship because your mind is always convicted or challenging between your behavior and telling your body not to participate in what worship requires, because the truth of the matter, there's thoughts and there's a wrestling with inside yourself, and then if there's not proper intentionality and proper preparation for worship, then it's difficult for you to engage in worship, because worship not only is intentional, it also requires integrity. It's just like any other intimate space. To be really intimate with another person or an individual, there has to be integrity, because when there's no integrity, then you don't have the same forthrightness in the relationship. You always feel like you hiding something or about to get caught with something, and it does not allow you the freedom that is necessary in worship. Worship requires integrity, because Psalms 41:12, David said, "It's in my integrity you uphold me and set me in your presence forever." In my integrity, you uphold me and set me in your presence forever. So when you engage in this integrity of heart or this worship, then cleaning your heart is always a part of the preparation process to worship God. Like getting yourself ready, getting your attitude, your mentality, your mindset ready is always a part of preparation, because if you know you're about to engage in an intimate act, if you know that God is seeking and requiring something for you, then there's an ownness on yourself that says, God, before I get into your presence, let my hands be clean, let my mind be right, let my heart be purified. And God, I don't want to just step in and bring some stuff from somewhere else into this intimate space. I honor you in this place. I blow kisses to you. I pay homage to you, and therefore I will not come before your presence without preparing me to get ready for what I'm about to do. And too many people self-haphazardly and ratchetly come into the presence of God without ever considering the fact that this is a privilege and an honor, that if you get to feel, if you get to sense the presence of God, it is not something that you should take randomly, but you should say, God mighty, I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful, and therefore let my mind be clear, let my heart be clear, let my intent be right before you, because it's not something that I'm just about to run up to do. It's something that I have prepared for.